All right, boys, let's bring the legend out. The Doc, John Maakaron, baby. Let's see. Can we get how do we get him on there, boys?
Hold on. There he is.
Let's go. Hey, what's up, Doc? How are we doing, man?
Boys, what's happening? What's happening, guys? Is it true? Did Jeff leave to get his balls waxed, chest shaved, all that shit?
Yeah. Hey, I hooked him up with the massage spot down the street, and then I was like, "Hey, get you a little discount," and he was on his way.
Oh my gosh.
Oh,
you got the bourbon?
Yeah, absolutely. He needs it, man. Stress, right? You boys a little stressed out a little bit?
You can say
he has been stressed out the last few weeks. Doc, appreciate you joining the show as always. I'll start us off here. And first of all, I appreciate you. I know you used to come on Wilbur Nights and stuff. I appreciate that as always. Obviously, new circumstances now. First question. Want to ask you this. We're a week out of the NFC Championship game. I just want to know how you're feeling after that. I'm still emotionally, I'm sure the whole chat, I'm sure everyone, I'm still emotionally upset about it. And the Super Bowl's coming Sunday, and I'm not really looking forward to it. I will watch it. But the line should be there. How are we feeling after a week out?
Yeah, first couple days, man, it was rough. You just feel shock. You're just like, man, you're that close. 30 minutes away. I was looking at flights, trying to get the sticker shock away from how expensive Vegas was going to be. I was like, shit, I might lose my mortgage gambling. Talking about the Asian parlors, Vegas is on steroids. It's legal there. So I got to be a good boy. I'm like, okay. And then they choked it away. But for me, it's a grind. You guys know, covering the NFL and covering the Lions with so many people doing it, it's tiring. So I was wore out, and I go hard. You guys know, podcasting, 5-6 stories a day, constantly reading, trying to keep up with you boys and your online antics. So I got to that point because it's an extra month for me. I'm not used to it. I'm used to finishing up the season late December, and then we do all the recaps. So after a couple days, I got to rest, relax a little bit, sit in my home and enjoy life a little bit, connect with the family and the wife. I felt a lot better. And I think quickly, just like everybody else, once Ben Johnson was announced to come back, everybody was like, boom, let's flip the script. Let's stop being bitches and let's move forward and stop crying about the loss. And let's look to 2024 where there's a real chance the Lions are going to compete. So like everybody else, I probably had 48 hours of being sad, but then Ben Johnson got me right back on the saddle, man. I'm ready for 24, and let's look at this draft, and let's get this football team better so that when they show up to the NFC title game, they whoop some ass.
That was
real Doc.
What you said there too. This was my first season, like actually being in the media and like doing a show during the Lions season. It was like doing like 7 days a week, Saturdays, Sundays for the game, doing the Kool-Aid at like midnight sometimes. It was like the longest season of all time. I loved every minute of it, but when it got done, I was like it was just all right. Now I get to take a break for a couple days. And I remember I was at Ford Field with Jeff, and we left, and Jeff kept telling me like, Booner, like there's next year, and I'm like, dude, if you don't stop telling me there's next year, like just give me a day or two to get over this thing, and then we'll get back on track here. And then that was it. 48 hours later, I was like, all right, let's go. Ben Johnson's back. Let's get this thing on the road.
Yeah, Doc. And I have to ask you about it because everybody's seen the interview of Brad Holmes with that presser the other day, but you were front row and you even asked him a couple questions. So I don't really have a broad question about it, but just tell us what it was like being in that room when he was just bringing up all the receipts that all the media had to say beforehand.
Oh, shit. Here's what I thought, honestly. I was like, oh, shit. Listen, the blessing is when I run a website, I can assign different people to different things. So I assign other guys to grade the draft. And so I was like, oh, shit, we're in trouble because my guy graded Jahmyr Gibbs a D when I went back and looked at it. But we're fair. If you go to All Lions and see, he said, I'm excited to see, my writer said, I'm excited to see Jahmyr Gibbs in this offense. It's going to work, but positional value potentially has an issue when you look at running backs compared to defense in the long term. So he took an analytical approach. So you're sitting there thinking, oh, God, is he going to call me out by name? Because you guys know haters nowadays, they just take it a little too far. And the distrust of the media is so crazy. I didn't want to spend 2 days having to defend myself from the trolls. So when he called out other people, I was like, Thank you. Thank you. Call out one entity. That's great. So, but in the end, I love it because when Brad Holmes dunks on the media, you know people are going to pay attention to it. And it does make you look at, okay, how are we grading? It makes you fine-tune a little bit of your work. What are we looking at? How are we doing it? Are we fair? But I'm not scared of Brad Holmes calling me out. I think it's you get a little nervous having to deal with the ramifications, but in 24 hours, people forget, they get ADHD and they move on. And I was just focused in on trying to make sure I got my question in because there's so many media members there that they tend to overshadow me. So I was, boom, a guy next to me started asking the question and I got mine in and kept it going. And I just wanted to ask what he thought about improving the team. But yeah, Brad Holmes flexed and he got himself off and he patted himself on the back. And he said, congrats to me. I got this football team to the NFC Championship. And he wanted to let everyone know, look what I did, stroking himself out there in front of the
public. Doc, shout out to you. Thanks for joining us again. Obviously, I wish we weren't looking forward to next season. I wish we were playing in the Super Bowl and we were looking forward to better things. But we do have some positions to fill next season and some positions of need, defensive edge and corner particularly. Going into next season, which one of those is a bigger worry to you, and how do you think they go about addressing those positions of need?
Oh yeah, absolutely. You look at it and it's tough too because Brad Holmes, when you look at it, he's kind of like, honest at times, but you also recognize he's willing to do some things outside the box. He threw out there that he's like, hey guys, don't panic based on my moves. We're going to take care of a lot of guys in-house. So free agency, I don't think they're going to make a big splash in regards to tier one, top end, big money guys. But clearly, I think they're going to upgrade the offensive line if you end up losing Jonah Jackson and Graham Glasgow if something happens to Frank Ragnow. You recognize you got to add some more depth there. And the key is the defense. You got to get help on the interior of that defensive line because, while Levi Onwuzurike is a guy working his way back from injury, you need a little bit more from the interior. And obviously an edge outside to help out with James Houston and help out Aiden Hutchinson. And then many people think it's going to be just one cornerback. You need two. When you look at it, you need depth there. You need two cornerbacks because Cam Sutton and Vildor are not going to cut it on any kind of level. I think Cam Sutton could be a reliable number two, but I think you focus on that defense. And once you do that, if you move that defense into the top 10, now you're talking about getting to the Super Bowl and winning it.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. And two, I guess with the draft, we've had this conversation all week, Doc. I don't know if you've even thought about it. But with the draft coming up, Brad's kind of proven, I would say, like he likes to trade up and he will go out there and he will make a move and a big splash in the draft if he has a guy that he likes. We had this conversation though, Nick Faber over from the Honolulu Blues as well. He brought it up to us a couple days ago about actually Brad trading back and outside of the first round. And one of the biggest things, and I think the first thing everyone thought of was, oh, the draft's in Detroit. You want that first round draft pick to be in Detroit and Campus Martius, all of that. But as soon as he said that, I kind of was like, you're sitting at 29, and what Brad loves is he loves more draft capital and loves to bring in more players. So that, like, right away, I was like, I think that might be a legit option now. Do you think though, like, kind of in your mind, looking at the draft so far, especially the first round, what would you kind of rank this in his order of what he would do to trade up, stay put, or kind of trade back out of the first round?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I love looking at the draft. This week, you caught me at the best time starting to watch film on some of the guys in the mock drafts. Real fast, I don't have ADD, but I love looking at the chat. King Horse, you think my wife would leave me for an above ground pool boy? Are you fucking kidding me? Let me tell you this right now. My wife would never leave me. She's satisfied in every way.
Let's go. Hey, let him know.
There you go, Doc.
Hey. I'm a successful man in every way, and she ain't leaving. She's happy. And the other guy, listen, Steve, listen real fast. I don't think we need every position. I'm happy with the offense. I named the three big ones. And if you got a problem with it, listen, you're talking to a guy that knows what's going on with the Detroit Lions, been embedded with them for 5 years. And knowing Brad Holmes, and all due respect to your guest from before, if he trades out of the first round, having the entire city waiting for a pick and partying, you're going to have a problem. Look, that's not happening. I don't think in this situation, when you look at the talent that's in the first round, I think potentially speaking, odds are probably stay there at 29 is the most likely scenario, but there's a good chance as well they move up. There's so much, there's good talent that you can get out there. And you look at some of the talent that's out there. When you guys, I know the guys in the chat are smoking weed and trying to talk shit to me. When you guys start watching film and you understand what you're watching, this first round has some good stuff that the Detroit Lions could go out there and make a trade up. Maybe not big. Maybe you go from 29 to 21 or 20 to get some guys, an offensive lineman that you fall in love with. But guys, it's tough. When you start seeing these mock drafts, there's going to be so many guys that you're going to see probably 20 names in the coming months in regards to who falls to the Lions. There's a lot of good players, and it's a decent draft too in regards to the offensive line too. So you could see Brad Holmes take an offensive lineman in that first round.
Doc, bringing the Brad Holmes energy on the chat.
I love that.
I love it. But you just brought up the idea of trading up. And you talked about doing some research on some of the guys. If you had an ideal trade-up candidate, regardless of where they were in the draft, if you could tell Brad Holmes, hey, just trade up for this guy, everything will be okay. It'll solve a lot of problems. Who do you think that number one guy would be?
Oh, absolutely, man. Now I went to state, so whether you love the Big Ten or not, I definitely paid attention to Oregon and what was going on out there since they were coming into the Big Ten. You look at this junior, 6'3", 320 pounds, Jackson Powers Johnson, and I think that he's going to go probably in the first 20 picks. The man can do it all. I think that he's versatile. You see the force in which he pushes guys back. The man is legit, and I think he's going to have a long career in the NFL. I would make a move for him. I definitely have caught a couple guys that caught my attention that are still I want to learn more about and see what others think. I think Cooper DeJean has some things that the Detroit Lions would like in regards to the grit coming from Iowa. Look, also, would they take another chance and solidify the offense? Would they take a chance on Keon Coleman? Would they move up for him? With the season that he had, I went to state. I saw him live and what he was able to do. I'm a big fan. If he's there at 29, you got the easiest sleep of your life. If you get Kool-Aid McKinstry, 6'1", 195, cornerback out of Alabama, that guy's film jumps out. And when you watch his tape and what he can do, I think that there's an opportunity here to pair him with Brian Branch. Oh, my goodness. There's so much.
Oh, I didn't think about that.
Yeah, Kool-Aid McKinstry is somebody out there that I think I'm waiting to see how he tests at the combine and all the good numbers and things like that. So there's a lot of good players that I think for once, maybe once Brad Holmes makes his pick this year, a lot of people are going to be happy. A lot of A and B grades.
Yeah. John, everyone that watches this show, even you, knows I'm a huge JMO fan and whatnot. Do you think next year he is going to take that next step and solidify him as a wide receiver too? Or do you kind of see him more easing into that role? Or like, what do you expect from Ben Johnson to kind of get him more involved in the offense and kind of cater more to his strengths?
Yeah, that's a key. That's amazing to look at when people were talking about JMO and the way in which the Lions slowly bring these cats along. It takes a little while, and that's what I was hoping maybe Brad Holmes would get asked about JMO and what he thought. You typically don't develop wide receivers that slowly, but obviously with the suspension and things like that, he had less than 400 yards this year. So you would have thought that he maybe would have been a little bit more involved, but oh my goodness, you just saw in the NFC title game, you can use them in such a variety of ways. And I think what people are going to look for is now with another offseason with Goff, Ben Johnson being back, JMO is not just going to be a guy that you target once for an explosive play. I expect him to get in that upper echelon window of 6 to 10 targets a game and have an opportunity to get 2 or 3 explosive plays, have an opportunity to get more looks his way. If, in my opinion, if JMO doesn't become wide receiver 2 next year, there's a big problem because it's all set up for him. I think he learned a lot from this year. He worked hard. The drop situation kind of went away. And I think that Ben Johnson now recognizes, man, with Sam Laporta and JMO elevating their games, this offense can even get better than it was in 23.
I love that. I would love to see JMO kind of take that step to the wide receiver to be number 2 kind of role as well. I do want to ask you that, Doc, this might be the last question. I don't know if the guys have another one, but I want to ask you this here. And I think this is something we've talked about all season long. This guy got so much hate all year long. And I keep telling people this. I've said this for the last month and a half. I said, hey, you have to get used to this guy's name, whether you like him or not. He will be in Detroit for the next 3 or 4 seasons, and he will be your quarterback. That is Jared Goff. What are your thoughts here? Do you think this contract, what's the timetable on that? A price range as well. We might have talked to you about this in the past as well. Do you think anything's changed with that? Obviously we've heard the contracts are going to get done, and I think he's going to get his extension. But like the time of the contract, whether it's a 2 or 3 year deal, 4-year deal, the price as well. Where do you think that kind of, Brad, goes with that?
Yeah, Jared Goff, man, it's controversial, man. It's tough. Here's the thing. Polarizing. QB1. The man is, look, talented. He can win, gritty. They put together the right team around him. The question mark that you got to ask yourself is, and this is tough because Brad Holmes has an utmost respect for Jared Goff. You've seen that he can get you playoff wins. First and foremost, you can win a lot of playoff games with Jared Goff. You definitely can get there. You can even get past the NFC title game. You can appear in the Super Bowl. But now you got to look at value. And you say to yourself, okay, if you pay Jared Goff $50 million, what he bring to the table warrant that much money? In my mind, I think they're going to give it to him. I think the contract's going to be $50 million a year, probably for over 4 years. I think the number that keeps popping in my head is 4 years, $200 million, and they backload it. And you could actually lower the cap number for this year and, maneuver the cap around. They can finagle the numbers to make it so that this year his number is more reasonable. But now you ask yourself, at $50 million, can Jared Goff, in a game like that just happened against the 49ers, where all the shitstorm starts to happen, can he elevate his game even more to overcome players not making plays? I don't know. It's just tough to say. My opinion, if you ask me that, my answer is no. My answer is the ceiling is Super Bowl appearance, not better than an opponent that's going to have a top-notch quarterback. Just ask yourself this, if you're honest. Now, you can blow smoke up my ass and you can lie to people and say, if Jared Goff was facing off against Patrick Mahomes, are you going to be confident that the edge in quarterback is going to be with the Lions? Not really, because Patrick Mahomes is going to elevate himself to some godly level based on his talent. But when you look at it on the other side, you have trust that he can organize and keep the ship afloat when things are rough. But Brad Holmes said it. He said it's tough. It's easier to get worse at quarterback than it is to get better. There is no real replacement right now that you could just bring in here and work with Ben Johnson. So Jared Goff hit the lotto. He found an organization that loves him, that was retooling. But when you ask these high-end questions about, can Jared Goff take his game to another level? I think this is what you get at 29, 30, 31 years old. Can you really raise your level that much more to win a Super Bowl? Now, you could prove me wrong. They could retool in such a way to build a dominant defense, and you can win big games with Jared Goff. But can you win games because of Jared Goff that people want to see? I question that.
I like that. Hey, Doc, I just want to say this. I'm going to tell you the same thing I tell everyone, that it's time to get used to Jared Goff in Detroit. He's going to be here for the next 4 seasons, baby. He's here.
He's going to be here. Big fat money. He's going to be very happy being in Detroit. And look, the salary cap keeps going up. He's still going to think, if you guys look at it in terms of percentage of salary cap, he still probably will be around 15 to 18% of the total value. So it's not going to kill you. The other questions you got to ask yourself is, how are you going to pay Amon-Ra? And you got to pay JMO when it comes up, and Penei Sewell and Aiden. You can't pay everybody $25 million a year. There are going to be some tough decisions. And I know this year people are wondering what I think about Josh Reynolds. I think a couple guys that could be let go are Josh Reynolds and Graham Glasgow. I think those are fan favorites.
Glasgow leaves?
Yeah, look, man, you look at football, and there are some traditional staples that you look at. Graham Glasgow is over 30 years old. He wants more money. And in football, you can't pay people for what they did. You got to pay them based on what you expect them to do. Another year older, do you expect him to continue to stay healthy and weather a storm? I think you go younger at that spot, and I think you prioritize Jonah over Graham, and you move on from him. You go younger, and you maybe draft somebody, like I said, or you find a free agent that's reasonable. And I think that Josh Reynolds might fall victim to the fact that you got Antoine Green on the roster, and you want to continue to develop the guys that you have. But, Josh Reynolds, I'm not saying it's a certainty, but when you drop the football in the biggest game, I mean, if it was me, I'd be watching that play 50 million times. It's got to be seared in my brain that you dropped the football when we needed you the most.
So you're relying on the development of Antoine Green over Josh Reynolds?
You know what?
Look, when you ask that, you say to yourself, okay, also too, in terms of saving a little bit of money, is the drop-off going to be that much where you got to look at it too? You're going to have more touches for Jahmyr Gibbs, more touches for Sam. Jameson's going to get more involved. All you need is a reliable big target that's going to make the key play. And yeah, Josh Reynolds does that, but you caught a case of the drops at the worst time. And that's something that's got to be taken into account. Another year older. I know that relationship with Goff, that might upset him a little bit. I think that, this is a great offseason for us to see in terms of when Brad Holmes says, don't be shocked at my decisions. This is for sustainability. Does that mean I'm bringing everybody back? Or does that mean, hey, some guys like CD Deuce, Graham Glasgow, Josh Reynolds are going to be gone?
I don't hate that fact that he's saying that, because you can't keep everyone. And
you can't keep everybody.
That's a fact. So you have to look at some guys, and some of these guys that we've all fallen in love with, the Graham Glasgow or Josh Reynolds, like some of these guys aren't going to be able to stay. That they're going to have to pick and choose some dudes, especially when you're starting to pay other people some money. Gentry, did you have another question?
Yeah, no, and that's kind of where I was going with this. Obviously, there's been some controversy around a guy named CJ Gardner-Johnson and possibly us parting ways with him. And I just wanted to get your thoughts on that. You've been around him. You've been at training camp. You've been in the locker room. You've seen how much he means to this team. What are the odds that a guy like CJ Gardner-Johnson returns to the Lions?
Yeah. Oh man. Let me tell you guys a story here. I don't know if I've told it in this way, but this forum, it'll be fun. First and foremost, Drew Vogel, you'd absolutely know what's up. John knows what he's talking about. That's why I'm invited. So pull up your ears, everybody. Let me tell you what happened. So you guys, if you follow me on Twitter at Detroit Podcast, I talk a lot of shit on there. And some of it is not the best. Some of it is, maybe will rile people up. I never thought the Lions would actually pay attention to it. I'm like, dude, I'm just a fan account. I've been running it for 10 years. My theory for that account, if you know me in real life, yeah, I'm a high energy, relatively nice guy. My theory for the Twitter page was just talk shit. And if you think it, post it. So Derek Barnes had that key mistake in front of the world, right?
Yeah.
So I go and I'm at practice, and the linebackers are doing a drill, and they do this tackling drill with this large blue thing, and they go and they run into it. So we're allowed to post videos, 10, 15 seconds long. I post a video and it says, I hope that Derek Barnes sees Dak Prescott in this drill. I think I think nothing of it. And I'm like, okay, it's just a regular post. People see it. Boom. Go back. Typically I chatted up with Matt Broder and all the other guys that are there. And all of a sudden, Alex Anzalone is standing right in my face. And Derek Barnes is sitting down, and the linebackers are pissed. And they go, why did you post that? And they're like, they're mad. And I'm like shocked at first. I'm like, what? And I said, he's like, are you trying to be funny? And I said, no, it's just a practice. I said, I should have said, well, why are you mad? I should have asked some of those questions. I just said, no, man, it's a practice video. And I think I gained the respect of the locker room because I said, if you want to talk about it, Derek, I'm right here. I recorded our conversation. So now the good thing is it was with permission. The crazy part is CD Deuce is in the back going, say it to his face. Next time, tag the man. Da, da, da. And he's getting pissed at me in my face. So I'm like, oh, what do I say to that? There's a guy and there's like boxes in front of me. What do I say to a guy yelling at me? And he's like, turn off the microphone. Turn on the microphone. He's like, he's thinking I'm doing something crazy in the locker room. And I'm like, wait a minute. I looked at him and I said, the recorder is not on. And I said, I'm going to talk to Derek. And if you have a problem, we'll talk about it man to man. And so he was so riled up and he got so mad. He got so mad at the media, probably because of me, other stuff that got out there that he didn't like. He shut it down and stopped talking to the media. He's like, national reporters would go up to him and he'd be like, I ain't going to talk to you guys. Step off. I'm not feeling the media anymore. So if he comes back,
wow,
I don't know if he's going to be talking to the media at that high of a level because he's not happy with the antics of the shit talkers and those that are writing. And I was legit like, when someone comes at you like that, you're startled. Your natural reaction maybe is not to kind of think I'm going to get talked to like that from CD Deuce. He was the one riling it up. Alex was more stern. Derek was, let me tell you this. Derek Barnes was so gracious and so kind. He actually listened to me and I said, look, I have a Twitter page that I talk about. And I said to him, I said, I posted that drill that you guys did 50 times. I love watching the linebackers. Now, did I add a little salt to it? Of course.
Yeah.
But in the end, you can't back down when these players are getting mad at you. You have a reason to say these things. I wasn't disrespectful. And I told him, I said, Derek, if I was disrespectful, I would have tagged you in it. I don't want you seeing all the stuff that people were saying about you from me. You know what I mean? All the trolls that would have did it. And so he understood and I got a story out of it. So if you know, long story short, if CD Deuce comes back, my nuts are going to shrivel because every time I ask him a question, I'm scared what he's going to say. And he did prior to this story I told, he called me out. You know, you're in a big room and there's a lot of media. You're trying to ask questions. So I just asked him, I said, hey, do you guys think with everybody healthy, are you guys a threat in the playoffs? Looks at me and goes, after answering everybody's question, he goes, that's the dumbest question I've ever heard. Yeah, we're a threat. And goes on his business. I'm like, oh my God, this guy's not a fan of the media. But long story short, I think they bring him back. I think that this dude is a dude that is a baller and they like that swagger. If the general manager is going to talk shit to the media, you think they care if CD Deuce is talking to a short balding podcaster like that in the media room? Look, I think it sucked that he got hurt, but I do see a guy that can get 6-7 interceptions, lead that locker room. Brian Branch, that vote of confidence online is going to mean something. So if you ask me, I say 80% he comes back.
I like that. And too, Doc, it seems like within the locker room too, like CJ Garner-Johnson with the players and stuff, like there's no issues within the, like when it comes to him and his teammates. I think that's like the biggest thing. I think from the outside looking in, a lot of people feel like they're like, he obviously talks a lot. Some of the stories you just told there, which is wild, like some crazy, those are sweet stories. But I feel like kind of when it comes to kind of his teammates and the team that, like you said, Brad's out there saying stuff. I don't see his teammates being like, yeah, he's an issue within the locker room with them. Is that wrong or?
Well, like when you look at the locker room, I thought it was one of the tightest locker rooms I've ever seen. I thought that locker room was close. And I think that, you know, guys that are out there like that a little bit, like CD Deuce or like others, I think that this football team embraces it. They love competition. I felt like the leaders in that locker room, like Alex Anzalone, they kept it together. And it probably outside of a couple little things here or there that got out there, CD was probably the most angry at the time and shut down. This locker room loves to talk. They love to speak their opinions. And I just think that this football team, in regards to who they brought in there, Brad Holmes done a great job, and Dan Campbell as well. Everybody has a role, and you never felt like this football team had anybody that was too big for their britches or was like a cancer in the locker room. There was none of that. It was just calm, relaxed, fun at times. And like I said, that was my situation, was probably the most angry that the locker room ever was. They were professional in wins and losses. So look at Steve. Steve Wild says they should have kicked your ass. They're not going to kick my ass because I'm there every day. So I'm a nice guy. I generally don't ask super tough questions to their face. I am direct though. I think what's different than me than a lot of the other reporters is a lot of the other reporters will have a lot of comments early on to kind of soften the blow before they get to the part where they hit them. I am just, for me, I'm in a different boat. I'm a podcaster that has a website. So I just am direct. So I'm like, why did you fumble the ball? Or I asked Jameson, what happened on the play where you dropped the football? And he looked at it and he just looked at me and said, well, I just dropped the football, and we move on to the next play. So I do got to do a little better job of framing my questions. I'm learning that. But in the end, I just want to be direct. I don't want to, waste time, because they only give you 6 minutes to talk to a player. So if I waste 40 seconds going, well, Jameson, you've had such a nice game earlier on. You were catching the ball great. But, that one play where you didn't, it's like that's a lot of time wasting. I just want to know, hey, you dropped the ball. What happened? What did you see? So I got to find that balance of being a little bit less direct and figuring out, because for me, the relationship with the players is great, but it's not my primary goal in reporting. People like the opinions, they like the antics and stuff like that. So I could do a better job moving forward, but this locker room was great. They handle the tough questions supremely. It's a great locker room. Really, it is.
Hey, Doc. Hey, I think you kill it. You killed it all year this year.
Oh,
Appreciate
absolutely.
you joining us. You joined, I think, the morning show when Lucas was on it, the night show throughout the season when I was on it. So we appreciate you a ton this season. I'm sure we'll have you on next week as well. Do you want to shout out all of your stuff though? I know you have a lot of things going on, especially with the draft coming out.
Oh man, yeah. Thank you guys. Look, all I've always wanted was to be viewed as one of the guys. I'm no different than anybody. I just wanted to do it to prove people wrong, that a guy from the internet could show up and report on the Lions. So, it's great that in some way people would think of me in some regard like Carlos Monterez. I'm not in that category. It was funny. People said to me, they said, hey, did Brad Holmes pee on you at that conference? I said, no, I dodged his piss, man. I'm lucky. I'm thankful. It was, but in the end, I respect everything you guys do. I love talking with the boys about football. Anytime you want, I'm here. You can find my stuff on Twitter, X, whatever you guys are calling it nowadays, at Detroit Podcast. You can message me directly. I answer 99.9% of all the messages. And then if you want to go to the website, it's all Lions. You type in si.com/NFL/Lions. And hey, you boys, get your game up, because I'll be calling you each. I always return the favor. And I'd love to have each of one of you on talking sports, what you guys are up to, seeing what kind of trouble you're getting into. So if you have me, like I said, I look forward to having conversations with you guys in a lot of different ways. Anytime you want, hit me up and I'll battle the chat and we'll have a good time.